is on travel and tourism, and our eminent expert for this session is Mr. Prateek Hira, and I request Abhigya to introduce him.
Mr. Prateek Hira has 27 years of first-hand experience in tourism. He is the founder, president, and CEO of Tornos, an experiential tour company established in 1994, and possibly the first company to start walking tours in India that have been highly recommended by international magazines. His other companies are Gastrouts, that specializes in food travel to India, Indian frontiers that caters to the theme of British in India, and more recently, he has co-founded River Rhapsody, a company that specializes in river-based tours, luxury camping, and riverside entertainment. Mr. Prateek is also a tourism researcher and a teacher of tourism, being associated with many universities in India and abroad, and has many tourism researches to his credit, including many published works and papers. Mr. Prateek is the chapter chairman of Indian Association of Tour Operators and the Chair Tourism Committee of FICCI's UP State Council and is a member of FICCI's National Committee on Tourism and Hospitality. It is our pleasure to welcome you, sir, today.
Thank you, Arnav.
Hello, sir. My first question to you is, what inspired you to take up a career in travel and tourism?
Yeah, inspiration actually, what happens is, this is my personal feeling that whenever you're making a career or deciding on what career to make, so it comes from the very early stage. So this is probably the stage when you're in class 9 or 8 or 7, when you see things around you. And there, in my time, of course, there was a limitation of careers that one would sort of get into. So tourism was quite unknown. There is still a little knowledge about the hotel management, and people rarely in those times knew about tourism. There weren't any degree courses in tourism. But somehow, somewhere I got into it because of my interest. So it was what inspired me, if you say, that I was kind of a man or a young boy who, at that point of time, when I was studying in school in Martiniere, Lucknow, probably, things were not the way they are today. Even going to restaurants was rare. Going to hotels, staying at the hotels was rare. My father worked for the Indian Railways. My mother was working for the state government. And we traveled a lot because of this association of my father and mother. But mind you, it was almost free travel because my father got free passes on the train to travel. So I never traveled on a flight at that point of time. And I never stayed in a hotel, or even if we did stay in a hotel, it was because usually it was limited to the guest houses which are by the state government or by the Indian Railways, where we sort of stayed. But these luxury properties, hotels, they were not only glamour for me, but they attracted me. Traveling by air, and so these were the things, or eating nice food in restaurants and seeing that lifestyle. Now these were forbidden, mind you, at that point of time. So when I grew up, I decided that I will go in for the hotel management. So I went in for the hotel management. Somehow, very early, I think within 3 or 4 days of joining the institution, I sort of dropped out of it, and then I went on to doing my economic honors and a bachelor's degree program, which has nothing to do with this career. But then in my post-graduation, I sort of again went into the tourism management, which was the postgraduate program from IITTM, which was at that point of time, and still is, one of the most premier institutions to teach you travel, tourism, and hospitality. So that's what had it. And then I would meet these people, like meeting the general managers of the deluxe hotels. And in class 8, when I was there, so I would walk into Oberoi's, Taj, and I would just get that feel of sitting in the lobby, meeting the general manager, talking to them about the career, what kind of career I can make in this industry. So that's how I sort of, the inspiration came. But there was no one in my family who was even remotely connected to hotel management or tourism management or travel management, whatever. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response. So my next question to you is, what are the popular courses in travel and tourism?
There have been many, many courses, including your certificate courses, which are short-term courses. You have a diploma course, you have a post-graduation level courses, you have master's degree, which is called the BTA, Bachelor of Tourism Administration, and then you have MTA, which is the Masters of Tourism Administration, and then you have PhD in tourism as well. So most of the universities, the leading universities, have a course. Foreign universities have specialized courses, and of course the IIT TMS is still offering the course, which is through a combined entrance test, which is based on all India basis, and they have a few centers in Gwalior and Noida and Chennai and different places. So that way you get into this course, but it is you have all these options to choose from, and then there are small certificate courses specializing in certain specific niche domains of travel. So it could be rivers, for example, or it could be food tourism, for example. So the meaning is much more wider than it ever was in terms of. So you just can't today. You cannot say blindly that I am into tourism. So that also has specialized core areas where you want to get into that, and then there are specializations in your, at least in your master's degree program.
Thank you, sir, for outlining the courses in tourism and telling us the importance of specialization. So my next question to you is formal education necessary to make a career in travel and tourism?
Yes, I think what happens is that whenever we talk about the education system in our vocational, I mean, I'll call it a vocational course which gets you an employment or helps you become an entrepreneur, whatever. So what help does do such courses provide to a student who is joining? Because it's a vast study, so don't expect that when you join a course, it's unlike your, even I would say, why unlike it can be like your course in doing an MBBS and then going in for your surgery specialization. Unless you have hands-on on operating someone's stomach, you can't just after your MS or MBBS, you just can't flip open the stomach and say that, okay, I can operate my stomach on. So similarly in such vocational courses, it is very important that you study the course, you get the nuances, and then you go in for your specialization, which can be based on your own interest. Unless you have interest in such vocational courses, you may not be successful at a later stage. So the point here is that, of course, there are. I think that your question reflects on the fact that each country will have its own visa system, its own, and more so now during the COVID times, they have their own rules to get into it, get out of it, and the quarantine requirements and all those things. So how do you study all this? Of course, you don't study everything specifically when you are talking about product. So you are not studying everything that's there in India or that's there in the UK or Europe, for example. But what you are getting to know in such courses is that how to go about it, how to plan things effectively, how to get to the level where you can do kind of flawless itineraries for your customers, how you can do the best fares for your customers, how you can work out the best fares for your customers, what is the route of getting the visa, what are the requirements of them. These are all clubbed with your practical experience that comes. And so that is why in all these courses, internship is a major part of all these courses. So one entire semester goes into, almost a semester goes into internship and the project reports in terms of research projects and all those things that you do. So to say that it is a very specialized area, you need to study also to connect with the rest in the industry. How do you know that what are the case studies of the companies that have excelled? You will only know when you get enrolled in a course, and then you get a kind of a bridge, you get a kind of a road or a path to develop yourself and excel in the area that you specialize. It's only during the course that I realized that food tourism is I knew nothing about food tourism. I didn't know that tourism, anything like food tourism exists. Or you may not be knowing that there's something like wine tourism which is existing. We might just be thinking that it's only about the history, who built Taj Mahal and who built the Palace of Versailles, or who built La Martiniere, for example. So, but no, it's not restricted to that. There are specialized courses, maybe golf tourism. It's a huge domain which one can specialize in. And even within history, there are periods like you introduced, when you were introducing me, you spoke about one of my companies which specializes in a particular period of history, British history, not the entire period of the British history in India. So that's a kind of a core or micro specializations that have come into tourism. But mind you, courses are very, very important.
Thank you so much, sir, for that response. What are the various avenues and job profiles that are present in this industry?
Arnav, I would say that they have expanded, only expanded, because there were limitations with the job profiles that one would get into. They would work for travel agencies, airlines, or tour operators, or even hotels. But it has expanded now. You see all these online travel agents coming in, like Make My Trip and Go Vivo and all these. So these are IT based companies, purely IT based companies. They hire tourism experts or people from tourism background for their technical input. So it's IT plus tourism combined together. So that's one part of it. And then probably in terms of job prospects, it's not only restricted to hotels. It's not only restricted to airlines. There are international airlines, domestic airlines. There are small charter companies that give you helicopters and small jets or family jets with charter. There are, as I said, walk leaders who lead the walking tours of these. There are guides who do your treks or who take you into the past, and experiential guides who take you into the history of a particular place. There are researchers, there are itinerary, there's huge amount of background work that goes on. So you land up with jobs at tour operators, you land up with OTAs, which is online travel companies, airlines, both domestic and international, hotels, and even now hospitals as well, because there's a huge domain of medical tourism which is already taking shape in India. So there are hospitals like Apollo and Medanta and so many other hospitals who have a separate department of medical tourism, where specialists in tourism kind of collaboratively work with the specialists in the medical field, and probably they come up with programs for medical tourism where people come for their treatment to India, because India, it's a very kind of a cheap destination in terms of it's not cheap is the wrong word, actually. It's a value for money destination for your medical ailments, for your operations that people come. So a simple surgery like cataract is very, very expensive in the West, in the US, or in Europe, or in the UK. So the better way is that the amount that they are spending there, they can as well come here into India, fly into India, get the cataract operation done within that 1 or 2 day frame, 1 day, in fact, few hours, and then with the new renewed eyes, they can see our country. So that's medical tourism. So where family can come and get their elderly people operated, or so that's a huge business for that's another area where you are. So there's no limitation, I would say. There are television channels that do programs like NDTV food or travel and living, and people have a friend of mine who is from Lucknow, Ranveer Barar, if you know him as a chef, a celebrity chef. So he's not a pure chef. He's rather more of a presenter. So he did his hotel management. He did his degree, and then he chose to be a presenter of things, a television host, making documentaries or speaking to people. So that's the kind of penetration that tourism has today. So it will be wrong for me to say that these are the specific areas, but the canvas is huge. It's wide, really wide.
Thank you so much, sir, for telling us about the malleability and the diversification of the field of tourism. My final question to you is, what is your advice to our boys seeking to make a career in travel and tourism?
Yeah, as boys, there are certain traits that you require or you have to develop. So things like, you have interpersonal skills. You can equip yourself with foreign language, maybe, the huge Spanish inflow. There was a time when there was a huge Chinese inflow, and you'll be surprised that the Chinese guides were the best paid people of our industry at one point of time because of the dearth of the Mandarin speaking guides. And China had taken the scene of tourism everywhere by storm, like US, everywhere in the clusters. So you could see in Europe and in France and in the US that everywhere you could see Chinese. So similarly, there are many other traditional countries that you have. So interpersonal skill is one thing which is very, very important. You usually, boys of La Martiniere, I'm happy to say that each of you have that kind of skills which are required for travel and tourism. It's only honing those sort of, brushing those things up. And then, of course, you should be a little caring kind of a person who wants to serve others. Boys should not come with a big ego, and I'm happy that boys of La Martiniere don't have that, because the system of education, your system of teaching, is such that you first flush out your ego and then you start coming, if comparing with other educational institutions in the city. So which is very good, So, and then there is no, it's a very democratic kind of personality that one should have. And all these, and you should always, like both of you are looking so good and nice. And it's so pleasant to see both of you so well dressed and so nicely turned up. So these are the things that are required, for tourism. So you either have these, and most of these you have, and you just have to develop a bit, and then a bit of knowledge of geography. So when I'm telling you about geography, it is not about specific longitudes and latitudes and all those things that the technical jargon that you study in geography as a students, but a basic idea of maps, where a particular country is located, in which hemisphere, how do you go, the shortest distance, the seas, the continents, the countries, the capitals, the currency. These are some, you call it geography or you call it general knowledge or whatever, which comes by virtue of overall education, just being attentive. You don't need to be a super marks gainer kind of, boy or a girl when you have to make a career in travel and tourism, but it is all about your reflexes as well, which are tested, that in a particular problem, in a situation, how quick and how effectively you respond, and you get the best thing for your guest, who's a tourist, of course, your client. So these are the things basically that one can develop, and so yeah, but there are many things, so even IT skill is now important. Social media is a big thing, so you need to be all your generation boys and girls are, but still you have to be a little specific in terms of your social media skills, that how to sell the products, how to market yourself on social media, because it's a huge marketplace and people are driven by social media as influencers. So I forgot to tell you when I was telling you about the careers, there are travel writers as well. There are travel journalists who write about tourism. There are travel influencers who influence your decision on where to travel, when to travel, where to stay. So they are called travel influencers. So these are some new domains as well. So you can brush up your skills depending on what area you want to specialize in, where you want to go. Accordingly, you can set yourself.
Thank you, sir, for that advice. On behalf of Martiniere College, sir, we extend our heartiest gratitude to you for sparing your valuable time to speak with the boys of the college and their parents. We are sure that your inspiring journey and your words of wisdom would have left an everlasting impact on our audience. We hope to see you soon once the pandemic situation eases. Vive le Martiniere.
Vive la Martiniere.